Welcome back to the Ink Dwell, everybody. This week, we're going to be taking a look at Papier Plume Ivy Green. So this was one of those Van Ness purchases I was talking about when we were talking about some of the inks that I got along with the Diamine Aqua Lagoon. And this purchase was really based off of me staring at my Chicago Pen Show Papier Plume inks and going, hey, I wonder what some of their other colors look like. So this week we're going to be taking a look at Ivy Green, and next week we're going to be taking a look at one of their blue turquoise inks, because, well, Ink Dwell, turquoise. It's becoming a thing. And honestly, if I was to work with a custom ink maker, the custom Ink Dwell ink would probably be turquoise because, well, I love turquoise, and I think a lot of you do too. Or at least I hope so. Anyways, let's talk about Ivy Green and how it works in this custom 845. Now, I'm going to be honest, the first thing I love about Papier Plume inks is the bottle design. It's got that nice classic feel to it, and I really think that the choice of using a metal cap here is a really good choice. Now, sometimes they do put the wax on top of the cap, but here we just have a Papier Plume sticker. And one other thing I wanted to touch on is the label itself. I like a good, simple label that tells you what the ink is all about, and this does it. It tells you flat out in the color that this is Ivy Green. And I do like that Papier Plume does put a contact phone number on there. It's a really nice touch. Now, looking at the color itself, what we have here is a really nice green. Looking at the lighter shades, it does come off a little bit lime green to me instead of ivy, but once you get to those mid-tones and those dark tones, it really does start to remind me of some of the ivy that grew at one of the apartments I used to live at. And I do like the red sheen here. It's a nice touch if you do manage to actually get that much ink onto the page. And moving over to the dry time, another thing I like about this ink is we are completely dry out of this medium nib by 20 seconds. And if we flip it over and write with a more finer line, we're completely dry by 10 seconds. And this ink is able to do that without sacrificing lubrication. It's a nice medium dry ink, but you don't have any hard starting issues if you, for some reason, leave your pen uncapped for a couple minutes before continuing writing, which is actually what I did here. This pen was uncapped while I was switching notebooks from the intro writing sample to this particular writing sample. And I really like the fact that I was able to just pick it up and start writing the second I hit record without having to think about, okay, do I need to go ahead and prep the pen over on the Rhodia dot pad really quick to make sure it actually writes and I'm not wasting time on film. Now, going back to the color during the writing sample, the one thing I do like is we're getting more of the mid to mid-light tones when we're writing with this ink. I do like the lighter shade, and I do like the more playful ivy look that we get from the mid-tones. Now let's go ahead and pull out our Rhodia dot pad and see how Papier Plume Ivy Green performs underwater. Now, to be fair, I kind of already knew this was going to happen because this was one of the few reviews that I actually prepared for. So we're not getting any water resistance here, but that's okay. Now I know that this ink is more for show and less for archive, and that's fine if you just want something that is going to add a little bit of life to whatever writing you're doing at that moment in time. So that's going to bring us around to the recap, and what we have here is a nice subtle green ink. I say subtle because it's just not in your face like the forest greens or the dark greens that we've seen on the channel, and it still has that nice soothing green feel to it. And like I was saying, it does remind me of some of the ivy that was growing on the walls of one of the apartments I lived at. So overall, if you're okay with sacrificing water resistance and you don't want something that is a super dark green, and you're not really looking for something that's got sheen out of fine and medium nibs, then yeah, this is going to be a good ink for you. And let's be honest, at $8 for a 30ml bottle, this has an awesome price to volume ratio that cannot be overlooked. So there you have it. I think it's a good value and worth checking out. And once again, thank you to VanS1938.com for having this in stock when I was just randomly looking for Papier Plume inks. So that's gonna wrap up this video. Thank you for watching as always. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you find these videos helpful, then share them to some of your other pen friends. Enabling is the best sort of social enabling that ever existed. Other than that, follow the channel on Twitter and Instagram, links are down below, and if you want to support the channel and get uncut episodes of 2 Guys 0 Planners, then consider supporting over on Patreon, the link's down below as well. That being said, I'll see you next week.